The most expensive thing you will ever buy is one you can never actually own. Your next raise, your next house, the number you swear will finally be enough. You think you're buying freedom, but you never see the transaction. You're selling pieces of the only life you get, your time. A man once learned this the hard way. He was offered all the land he could walk around in a single day, every field, every hill, free, forever. He started walking, and that walk is what killed him. You will never die circling farmland, but at your own scale on this ordinary day, you are making the exact trade he made, and you can't feel it happening. So, 3 things. What you are actually spending every time you reach for more, why a line you draw and money can never hold, and how to draw one that finally can in the only currency you cannot make more of. His name was Pahom, a farmer who believed one thing. With enough land, he would finally be safe. So he bought some, then more. Each time he was richer, and each time the wanting came back before the season turned. Then the offer came. At first light, he walked. The ground was so good he couldn't stop cutting his circle wider. One more rise, one more stretch of black soil. But the sun kept falling. Every step out bought him more land and left him less time to get back. He pushed past noon, past sense. He ran the last stretch with the light dying and his chest burning. He reached the starting point, and he dropped, and he did not get up. They buried him where he fell. And the story asks one quiet question. How much land did the man need in the end? 6 feet, just enough to bury him. Here is what the story is really about, and it isn't greed. Pahom got exactly what he wanted, all the land a man could take in a day. He simply paid for it in the one thing the land could never give back. He spent the only afternoon of the only life he had on ground he would never once walk again. You do the smaller version constantly, not with land, with years, and it feels responsible. I just need this raise, then I'll relax. I just need this house, then I'll finally feel done. But the raise becomes ordinary the week after it clears. The house shrinks the moment you stand inside it, and every time you draw a quiet line. This much and I'll feel done. But watch what happens to that line. You draw it at a number, you cross it, and the number is just behind you now, weightless because there is always more money to be made. A line drawn at an amount can always be stepped over. Money is the one thing you can always make more of. So draw your line in money and you have drawn it in water. That is not a failure of character. It is the arithmetic of a thing that always comes back. A line drawn and what you can always remake can't hold because nothing behind it is ever truly spent. So maybe the fix is obvious. Reach a number big enough that the line finally holds. A researcher named Norton went and tested exactly that. He studied more than 4,000 millionaires, people who had, by any measure, already won. Even past $8 or $10 million, the wealthiest came out only a shade happier than millionaires worth a fraction of what they held. Not because they had too little, because the number was never the thing they were missing. The money arrived. The feeling of enough never did. Understand what that means. These are not sad people who fail to count their luck. They are proof of the arithmetic. The problem was rarely the number, it was the mind that keeps moving the finish line. You cannot reach the end of a road that makes more of itself as you walk. No pile of money is ever the last pile. The line was never going to hold at any height. So the question was never how much, it was what you were counting in. Money is a strange thing to measure a life with because it can always come back. Everything that actually makes a life is the opposite. A slow morning, a table with people at it, a face across that table that will not always be there. The years you have left, which no one has ever once added to. You can always earn another dollar. You will never earn another Tuesday. That is the trick your mind keeps missing. Enough was never a figure, it was a currency. And you have been paying for your life in a currency that always makes change. The one bill that refills itself, while the account that actually runs down goes untouched, unwatched, and you spend none of it on what matters. This isn't a new question. One man staked everything on this exact question 200 years ago in a bargain with the devil. In Goethe's telling, Faust wagers his soul on a single condition. He loses it the instant one moment feels so complete that he asks it to stay. Linger a while, you are so fair. Faust bets he will never say those words, that no moment will ever be enough to stop for. Look at what he is really wagering, not money, the whole of a life. He would stake his entire soul before admitting one moment was complete. The person who can look at one ordinary moment and say, "Stay, you are enough," has done what Faust could not. They drew a line in time, and a line drawn in time cannot move, because you can never get more of the moment you are standing in. A line drawn in money always slides. There is always more of it. A line drawn in time stays exactly where you set it, because the one thing you cannot make more of is the only thing that ever holds a line still. So, 4 moves, small and yours. Price it in hours. Before the next thing you are chasing, stop asking what it costs in money. Ask what it costs in hours of the only life you get. That is the real price tag, and it is the one you are actually paying. Set your line in something that can't be refilled. Not a figure, a morning, a person, a year with someone who won't always be here. The next raise leaves every one of those exactly as rich as it already is. When you hit a money number, don't move it. Retire it. Say it plainly. This is the number. I don't move it anymore. A number you refuse to raise is the only kind that ever becomes solid ground to stand on, instead of a start line to run from. And spend the raise on time, not on more to guard. Every upgrade is one more thing you now have to sell your hours to keep. The line will slide again. Tomorrow someone will hold up something just past it, and you will lean toward it before you have decided anything at all. When you feel it, don't ask how much more it would take. Ask the question Pahom never got to ask. How many hours of the one life I get would that actually cost? You can always make more money. You can never make more life. Draw the line in the one that runs out. That is the richer self, not the one who finally gathers enough. The one who stops paying for more of what refills with the one thing that doesn't. One thing is still coming. Even once you've drawn the line, you will keep pouring good years and good money into things that are already gone. A plan that quietly fell apart. A road that stopped paying back. Long after walking away became the only move left. Why we can't let go of what we've already spent, and how to, that's the next one. Tonight, don't ask what you need to earn. Ask what you are slowly spending. Ask the harder question, what part of your one life are you willing to trade for it? And if you want the next question, subscribe. The richer self works the way a real life does, one honest question at a time.